So, how's everybody doing? Welcome to the fourth installment of the Throwing Snowballs podcast with PR52. This show is brought to you by quarterback controversies because the fans and the media in the city of Philadelphia, they just love that stuff. So, I decided to take a break for a week from doing this, and the reason why I took a break was because I felt like I needed to kind of clear my mind. I felt like there were things that were going on that, I needed to wait to see what was actually true and what was actually happening in certain respects. Because the thing that I know about the Philly media and Philadelphia as a whole is the fact that a lot of times, a rumor will be started and someone will start talking about something, and then you just have to kind of wait until all the information starts to come out. And I feel like this is something that I really wanted to do there because, again, Philadelphia is a big market. A lot of people have a lot of opinions. A lot of people have a lot of mindsets, and a lot of people have a lot of stuff that they like to talk about. And they have their own biases and their own agenda. So I felt like I just wanted to wait until certain things came out because a lot of drama swirled around Philadelphia this time, like usual. So on this episode, I want to talk about the Eagles making Nick Sirianni their head coach, some controversy and drama that had to go along with that, as well as Carson Wentz and whether, people are saying, oh, can he be fixed? And, what are some scenarios with Carson Wentz and what's some of the drama with the quarterback situation, and as well as Carson Wentz, of course, because he hasn't said anything yet, and I'll get to that. But let's first of all start with Nick Sirianni becoming the Philadelphia Eagles' new head coach. I think he was hired on a Wednesday, or not unofficially hired on a Wednesday. He was on vacation in Florida, and of course that's where Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman were conveying their interviews. And he didn't bring a suit, so everyone else wore common attire. I don't even think Sirianni wore a suit to his opening press conference with the media. So Nick Sirianni becomes the Philadelphia Eagles head coach. He is bringing Shane Steichen, or whatever his name is, offensive coordinator with the Chargers under Justin Herbert. He's bringing Jonathan Gannon in. He was the former DB's coach for the Indianapolis Colts. Michael Clay, he was former special teams coach or assistant for the Niners, and now he's our special teams coach. Kevin Patullo is the pass game coordinator for us now. He was with the Colts. Running back coach is vacant. Aaron Moorhead, he's craving, because we're all craving Aaron Moorhead. He's our wide receivers coach again. He's someone who's coming back. Jason Michael is the tight ends coach. He was the tight ends coach in Indianapolis. He came back. Jeff Stoutland is the O-line coach. Someone came out, I think it was that Bleeding Green Nation account, or whatever his name is, came out, and he thought that Jeff Stoutland was going to be the O-line coach at Alabama, and he made some sort of rumor about it. Of course, it's Philadelphia fans. They just went ahead and believed it without doing their research. But Jeff Stoutland is coming back. Tracy Rocker is our D-line coach. He was the D-line coach at Auburn. Nick Rallis is the linebacker coach. He was like an assistant linebacker coach for the Vikings. And then Denard Wilson was the some DB coach for the Jets, and he's now our DB coach. So that is the coaching staff as it is right now. Of course, we don't know who our running backs coach is. That person might come out at a certain point in time. Now, there has been a lot of controversy already with Nick Sirianni. Now, I said in my Welcome to Philadelphia Nick Sirianni video, I said that a lot of Colts fans were upset to see him go. They were upset to see Jonathan Gannon go. And the fact of the matter is, I really like that. I really like it when a team is like, oh, I wish this guy he wasn't leaving. I know that the head coaching search is a complete crapshoot. I get it. But when a fan base is like, oh, I wish that guy stayed, then you know that that guy might be a good coach. And he got onto his opening press conference, and it wasn't that good. And the reason why it wasn't that good was because He was stammering, he was stuttering, he seemed to be nervous. I don't know if he has a stammer or a stutter. Personally, I don't really care. I don't really care either way. I think that press conferences are stupid. I personally think that, the media will go out and turn everything however they want to. It's how he works with the players is what is going to dictate how good he is. And at this point, from what I've heard from former Colts players and Colts fans, I really do like how this is going. I think this is an underrated hire, but of course, I'm not coming out and saying, oh, this is the greatest hire ever, he's going to be the greatest coach ever. I'm not saying that. I'm not even saying that at all. What I am saying is that I am optimistic cautiously. So we'll see how it plays out. He's not inheriting the greatest team ever. So hopefully he can make people accountable. One thing that I really liked about what he said was he was going to simplify things for the players and make things more complex for the opponents. I also like the fact that he isn't married to one system. We all remember Andy Reid and Chip Kelly and Doug Peterson. They were married to one system, and they always said, we're going to make adjustments, but they never made adjustments to anything. I really do like the fact that Nick Sirianni, he is in a decent level. He's been a part of different systems in the NFL. He's been with the Colts. He was with the Chargers under Mike McCoy, and he was under Frank Reich with the Colts. So that's something that's really positive for me and something that I'm looking at, and I really like it. So here's to the other controversy to this. When he did his opening press conference, a lot of people were making fun of the way he was speaking. They were mad that he wasn't Deuce Staley, and they were mad that he wasn't Eric Bieniemy. Now, when it comes to Deuce Staley, I wouldn't have minded if Deuce Staley was our head coach. The only thing that I worry with a guy like Deuce Staley is he going to become an Andy Reid, or is he going to become a Jim Tom Sula? The thing is that Deuce Staley hasn't been seen as anything other than a position coach, which, when it comes to being a coach, sometimes you excel as being a coach and you don't excel as being a coordinator. I see Deuce Staley maybe 4 or 5 years down the line as being a guy who could be a good head coach. But a lot of people were saying like, oh, we treated Deuce Staley poorly and we didn't give him a chance to elevate his coaching status or become an offensive coordinator. An article came out saying that, the Eagles were reported in 2018 that the Philadelphia Eagles were going to give Deuce Staley a chance to be the offensive coordinator, and Deuce Staley turned it down because of the fact that he wasn't going to be able to call plays. So if that's the case, I don't feel bad for Deuce Staley. He wrote us an amazing letter. I will always see Deuce Staley as being a Philadelphia Eagle for life. I know he won a ring with Pittsburgh, and I know he came back, but some of my most fondest Eagles memories was when Deuce Staley was on the field. The pickle juice game. He went through the gauntlet with the team up until 2003. Deuce Staley wasn't the greatest running back, but he was always a fan favorite, and we always yelled Deuce whenever he did something well on the field. So Deuce Staley will always be an Eagle to me. But that doesn't mean I'm going to stand here and be like, well, he could have taken an opportunity and not called plays. A lot of people were saying that Deuce Staley is qualified, but Nick Sirianni isn't qualified. The fact of the matter is that Nick Sirianni has been a coach for longer than Deuce Staley has. Nick Sirianni was a coach in the NFL back in 2008, a wide receivers coach, and he was an offensive coordinator, and now he's a head coach. Deuce Staley has only been a running backs coach, and he was given that assistant to the assistant of the regional manager position, that assistant head coaching position when the Eagles won the Super Bowl. And the fact of the matter is, I would love for Deuce to still be here, but he's not. He decided to leave. A lot of people said that, the Eagles didn't pick Deuce Staley because Deuce Staley had a bone to pick with Carson Wentz. I mean, we're going to get to Carson Wentz in a second, but I mean, why I don't understand why it's bad that the Eagles brought in a guy who could possibly fix Carson Wentz. I don't see why that's like a bad thing. So the fact of the matter is that I just I don't lend any credence to any of that stuff, because the fact of the matter is that if you're going to say that Nick Sirianni isn't qualified, then Deuce Staley isn't qualified either. There was this one woman in Philly personality who was like saying praises of Deuce Staley, saying that the Eagles were doing Deuce Staley wrong, but she spelled his name wrong twice. His name is Duce, Deuce, not Deuce or Duece. It's Duce, Deuce. So I just found it to be absolutely ridiculous. And then on the Eric Bieniemy situation, Eric Bieniemy was 1B of the coach that I wanted. I wanted Brian Daboll, but Brian Daboll didn't go anywhere. I wanted Eric Bieniemy because it was pretty much after that one play in the Browns game, that 4th and 1 play, where I was thinking to myself, like, you got to punt. You got to punt. It's 4th and 1 and you're in your own territory. Like, this is a game that you could lose. Andy Reid would never do this. 4th and 1, backup quarterback throws an out route to Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is one of the better wide receivers in the league. Catches the pass, and he goes ahead and converts. And when that happened, I was like, give me Eric Bieniemy. The Eagles requested an interview from Eric Bieniemy. And I think they did that right after that Browns game, like 3 weeks ago. And they were going to interview Todd Bowles and Dennis Allen on Tuesday. Waited, got nothing. Nothing happened. I think Bieniemy decided to Zoom interview with the Texans, but we got nothing. And then interviewed Sirianni on Wednesday, and then hired Sirianni. And everyone was upset because because he wasn't Eric Bieniemy. Because Eric Bieniemy totally deserves this opportunity, and a lot of people have been slandering his name, and a lot of people have said he doesn't interview well, which I don't believe for any way, shape, or form. I don't believe that. I think that's just an excuse. I don't know why Eric Bieniemy is not a head coach. I will give an assessment for why he is a victim of a really bad hiring system here in the NFL. But a lot of people, after hearing Sirianni stutter and stammer, now he's done other interviews where he wasn't stuttering and stammering, but they're like, oh, so he must have interviewed well. Like, it was, what was it? Shannon Sharp was like, he was like, kind of like making fun of it. Other blue check marks were making fun of but Shannon Sharp, I like most of Shannon Sharp's takes, but I wouldn't be making fun of someone who's stuttering and stammering. You need a translator or closed captionings to understand what Shannon Sharp is saying. That's not like, it's not a joke, because I stutter too, but I'm not making fun of people who stutter. And then there were other people who had made posts about how, I'm a huge social justice person and I'm a huge advocate of disabilities and stuff like that. And Joy Taylor, I think she's like on Fox or something like that. And it's just like, no, you don't. You don't care about social justice. You don't advocate for any of that stuff if you're making fun of a guy who's stuttering. That's ridiculous. Bringing down Nick Sirianni, who he could or could not be a good head coach. I don't know. I'm not going to come out and say he's going to be a great coach. But putting him down doesn't mean... I mean, Eric Bieniemy probably doesn't want you to put the other guy down. Doesn't want you to put Nick Sirianni down. Putting a guy down isn't going to make Eric Bieniemy a head coach. And people were like, oh, the Eagles are racist. Jeffrey Lurie is racist. Howie Roseman is racist. They put on their white hoods and hats and stuff like that, and everyone looked at the first 4 coaches that were hired and assistants that were hired on the Eagles. And, it's the KKK, but they didn't show the fact that Tracy Rocker, who's black, was our defensive line coach. And we basically hired nothing but black people since then. So it's like, this is why I don't like to make hot takes in the moment. I like to kind of wait and see what's going to happen next. Here's my assessment for why Eric Bieniemy isn't a coach right now and what can be done about that. The fact of the matter is, Eric Bieniemy is still in the playoffs. The only way you could have interviewed him the first time is if you had interviewed him during Wild Card Weekend, because he had a bye. The fact of the matter is that Eric Bieniemy is a victim of a bad hiring situation. And the reason why I say this is because once you're in the playoffs, you can't really be interviewed until you have a break in time or a Zoom process if it's the second interview. Because you can't bring a coach into your building until the week during the Super Bowl or the week before, that media week, which wasn't happening. Eric Bieniemy is still in the playoffs. He's still contending for the Super Bowl. I really think that they need to change this process to a process where the candidate or all the candidates before the end of the season, like the end of the Super Bowl, you can interview with whoever you want there. You can just interview people during that whole process. You can't hire them. There's a point in time where you can't hire them. But then like a week to 2 weeks after the Super Bowl, you can start, doing second interviews and start hiring coaches. Because the fact of the matter is, nobody wants to hire a head coach, or some people do, but I wouldn't hire a head coach when most of the head coaches have already been hired, most of the assistants have already been hired, and now you're just basically a head coach with hand-me-down assistants. So that's just my personal feeling about that. It has nothing to do with race. Maybe everyone's racist and Eric Bieniemy should be a head coach. I don't know. But I don't believe that the fact that Eric Bieniemy isn't the Eagles head coach is the fault of the Eagles. Unless they did something to make him not want to come here, which the Eagles are kind of a train wreck. I don't know. So the second thing we're going to talk about is Carson Wentz. A lot of stuff has been coming out about Carson Wentz. The media is literally begging Carson Wentz to say something. I know that during the press conference with Nick Sirianni, the media was just like, when's Carson Wentz going to speak? When's Carson Wentz going to speak? When's Carson Wentz going to speak? And Nick Sirianni was like, I don't know. The media is just oozing for Carson Wentz to say something, and I just think that's hilarious that he hasn't said anything. I think that's look, I want Carson Wentz to say something, but I'm also not mad because Philly media is just, I made the analogy that Philly media is so tenacious. They're like a bunch of dads of 16-year-old girls. And, when you come into the house, they're cleaning their gun, giving you like a weird look. And if you don't bring her back by 9 p.m., your ass is grass. So I think that's what the media is. They're so tenacious. And I can understand why people would be nervous in front of them. But Malcolm Jenkins came out and said that the Eagles coaches had coddled Carson Wentz, which totally understand that. I totally see that. There have been, I think there was a report that Deuce Staley, he came out and said that he didn't like the way that the Eagles were handling Carson Wentz. Everyone was saying that Nick Sirianni was hired just for Carson Wentz, which, look, Carson Wentz is your highest paid commodity. He's your most expensive commodity. If you can find someone to fix that dude, that's a good thing. A lot of people were coming out and saying that Nick Sirianni was a yes man, and we know he's like Emmanuel Acho, who is a yes man to FS1 because he just says whatever take they want him to, so you are the ultimate puppet. Everyone's saying that Sirianni is a puppet, but he's hired his own staff. People are getting all hung. I know we're supposed to be talking about Carson Wentz, but I know that everyone's hung up on, oh, Howie Roseman is picking the 53-man roster. Yeah, he's the GM. That's usually what the GM does. Just for all you people who need to read Football 101. Usually. Especially because Sirianni is a first-year head coach. But I feel like if you can save Carson Wentz, why wouldn't you bring a guy who can save Carson Wentz? I'd say, like, before this weekend, I started as, like, I really want a quarterback battle. I really do. I really want a quarterback battle. And then Matthew Stafford got traded for Jared Goff, and Matthew Stafford was worth a lot of picks. And then I was like, I say, maybe Carson Wentz might be worth something. Just trade his ass right now. So I'm going to go through some of the scenarios for Carson Wentz. And I have 4 main scenarios. Before we get into the scenarios, understand that I personally think that Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie are going to have to consult a crystal ball or a psychic or a fortune teller. Just because of the fact that I feel like this is like a make or break situation for the Eagles. Like, if you make the wrong decision, you could be screwing yourself over for a long time. So here are the scenarios, right? Keep Carson and Jalen. Carson is fixed, and trade Jalen. I feel like that is the scenario that, I mean, we should all want Carson to be saved. We should all want Carson Wentz to be fixed by us. Because I feel like it would be a major PR nightmare if the Eagles traded him somewhere and he ended up being really, really good or maybe even win a Super Bowl, and here we are sitting there with, like, garbage. I'm not saying Jalen Hurts is garbage, but I'm like, you know, I would rather have him seen to be fixed. Keep Carson and Jalen. Carson isn't fixed. Jalen becomes the starter during the season, and now Carson Wentz's trade value is so low that you can't move him. Maybe it's possible that there might be a team that gets desperate. Who's like, yeah, we need a quarterback. I don't think that Carson Wentz will ever restructure his contract. You take your money now and you run. That's how it should work. Scenario number 3, trade Carson, and obviously trading Carson would, you would have to take on his total salary of 2021. So the team that's getting him would get him for free. And obviously you would have Jalen be your starter. And Jalen might not be good, but who knows? He might be good. We never know. Because that would be the best time to trade Carson, because Carson would have his best value. And if you trade Carson Wentz when he has bad value, you won't be able to trade him. You might look for a trade partner. You might look for someone who's desperate, someone who needs a quarterback. But I don't think that team is going to look at his salary and look at him and be like, maybe like a guy like Sean Payton might decide to do it. Maybe a guy like Frank Reich might decide to do it. I don't know. But all I know is this has to happen before free agency starts on March 20th. Or I guess before the new year. And then scenario 4 is keep Carson. He does well, then gets injured. Jalen plays well. Trade Carson later. Maybe not for as much. Now the problem is the fact that I want to at least see Carson Wentz play. I want to see Carson Wentz try to fight for his position. I want to see Carson Wentz fight for his honor. I want to see some fight in him. Because I haven't seen it fight in him in a long time. Because I believe that the cream will always rise to the top when it comes to quarterback battles. We all remember the quarterback battle between Nick Foles and Michael Vick. And we remember that caused Nick... I feel like that was the catalyst for Nick Foles throwing 27 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. With this situation, it could be very similar, but the problem is that you're not sure what Carson Wentz has before you trade him. Of course, if you have a deal out there that you really like, You get like a first round pick. Hell yeah. Sorry, I like Carson, but bye. Bye bye. No. But if you get a good deal, you have to press the button. You have to press the button just for the specific value. Again, there might be a team that wanted Matthew Stafford and got desperate. Because once Matthew Stafford was traded, I think Eagles fans kind of realized, oh, we could get something for this dude. Even though it was Jared Goff, two first-round picks and a second and a third. Oh, dude, do the Rams even have any picks in this draft? I know that Sean McVay is a really good coach, but damn, I would love to have Sean McVay be my head coach. That would be amazing. But instead, we were stuck with Doug Peterson. He gave us a Super Bowl, so I guess that's pretty good. But you're just not going to know. You're going to have to go in blind. And if you mess this up, we could be screwed for 3 or 4 years. And Nick Sirianni, he might not even be our coach after this if we screw this up. But I believe that you should want to at least try to fix Carson Wentz. I know a lot of people are like, I like Wentz, I like Hurts. If you like Wentz, then you're just a Wentz stan. If you like Hurts and not Wentz, then you should go be a fan of another team. I don't know. But I just have this feeling that if you make the wrong decision, it's not going to be good. And if you trade him, you're going to just have to be trading him blind because he's not going to go through the mini camps. He's not going to go through the training camps. He's not going to go through the preseason. So you're not really going to know. You're going to have to evaluate this without knowing anything. And again, Carson hasn't spoken to the media, but there's been rumors that Carson isn't happy being in Philly. Which, if that's the case, maybe Carson Wentz can just do all this without us. And again, Carson Wentz hasn't come out. These are all rumors. We don't know. Carson is leaving us in the dark, which is his total right. Carson Wentz shouldn't speak to the media until he really rehearses what he wants to say. But I just feel like this is his decision. Who are we to just stand here and be like, no, you have to do whatever decision we want you to do? The fact of the matter is these players have feelings. These players care a lot more than they did 20 years ago. The NFL is kind of becoming the NBA in the sense of, last year we saw Tom Brady go to Tampa Bay, and, now Matthew Stafford is going to the Rams, and, these quarterbacks are kind of like prima donnas, and they want to be where they want to be in order to be successful. So my whole thing is like, if Carson Wentz wants to leave, I know for a fact, I know that this for a fact that Eagles fans are going to call him a crybaby, and the media is just going to call him a crybaby, and everyone's just going to have these takes that he's a crybaby, even though the fact of the matter is, if he's not in a place where he likes to be working, just like you, if you don't want to work somewhere, then and you don't feel like your needs have been addressed and you don't feel like you're safe, yeah, you shouldn't work there anymore. That's obvious to me. But I know Eagles fans are going to react like scorned ex-lovers. Ooh, he's a whore, or she's a whore. They're a whore. They're a slut because they're not with me. Right? They're going to react negatively to someone who doesn't want to be in their presence. Has anyone seen that reality TV show Next? I remember it was on MTV where a bus filled with potential dates were sitting, and you would have like the main person who was doing the dates and choosing, and basically they could go on a date with 5 people. So let's say like there are 5 guys in a bus, and the person who was trying to choose was a woman. And, she could go on a date with a guy, and basically, if, she didn't like them, she would say next, and they would go on the bus. And I think they would get as much money as the amount of time that would last. And basically, if the woman liked one of the guys, and, let's say the date lasted for 45 minutes or something like that, she could say, well, you could go on a date with me, or you could take $45 because you lasted 45 minutes. And the person could either take the $45 or go on a second date with the person. I feel like Carson Wentz is just saying next to Eagles and the Eagles fans, and the Eagles fans are like, she's such a whore, which would happen every time the woman would say next, oh, she's such a slut, I didn't like you anyway, you weren't pretty, even though they had said in like their testimony, oh, she's so cute. But I feel like that would be Carson Wentz's decision, and I definitely wouldn't hate him if he made the decision. Philadelphia hasn't really been good to him this year. A lot of things that he said has gone through the mud. A lot of things that he hasn't said has gone through the mud. Speculation of him not doing anything wrong, it's just gone through the mud. And of course, in Philadelphia, you live long enough to be a hero. You will eventually be turned into a villain in this city. I just feel like no matter what happens with this Carson Wentz thing, I just think that it's going to end up working itself out in the end. Whether Carson Wentz stays or Carson Wentz goes, people on the internet are allowed to have their opinion about Carson Wentz or about the Philadelphia Eagles. But I think at the end of the day, I don't think that we should all get too consumed about this. Because whether Carson Wentz gets traded or Carson Wentz stays and Jalen Hurts becomes the quarterback or Carson Wentz stays the quarterback, I just think that the situation's just going to work itself out in the end. So why get so worried and wrapped up in it? But that's all I have for this podcast. I definitely enjoyed kind of giving my thoughts on these things. And again, plug to the Twitter account if you would like to listen to more podcasts. Please subscribe to PR52 YouTube channel. Please follow PR5210, which is the Twitter page. I oftentimes write on the Two Birds and a Third Football podcast page. I usually do my in-game tweets on the PR5210 account. But make sure you follow me there. Make sure you subscribe to me. And I had some fun bringing you guys the news. Hope to see you guys on the next podcast, maybe in a week or in 2 weeks. I'm not sure. Hope you guys enjoy the Super Bowl, and you all have a very nice day. Peace.